Looking at the minutes, Thursday, April 24th at 5:33. Commissioners, we have another one of our current commissioners had a death in the family and is unable to be with us today. And I don't know any other details than that, but Daniel is with his family. So we're short, but we do have a quorum. So if we can call the roll, please.
Commissioner Arevalo?
Present.
Commissioner Burleson?
Here.
Commissioner Meeks?
Yeah.
Commissioner Rourke?
Here.
Commissioner Tomites?
Here. Okay. So we do have a quorum, correct? Yes. So do we have anybody signed up for citizen comment?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The door is open, so I'll move us to item 4, which is discussion and action items. And so today we are at we started way up here and we have funneled everything down as we went, had lengthy conversations and debates about each one of these items. The executive summary is here to make sure everybody copy.
Yeah, I
didn't sorry about that. These were just a little late getting out, so we can take our time to go through each of them. And they are in the order of where they reside in the charter. And these are and is there any way that Rob Rourke can see these?
You know what?
I don't have them scanned in.
We could email him.
Can you email those to me? I have access.
You have this,
Your state.
You just have to scan it and email it.
Okay, thank you.
So, can we change this so I can see Rob?
Last time we did it, I don't know, it's the time we got to talk.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Remember at the end of our last meeting, Michelle had said she wait, there were some things that we still wanted to discuss. And we
Yes.
still discuss more
We can.
So I know that one of them is going to be number 3.
Right.
Because Michelle and I talked about it and we remember discussing it, but we don't remember ever taking a formal vote.
Okay.
And so I'm not sure that I'm going to be agreeable that number 3 stays as stated here.
I understand. Everything that, and that's fine, we can have that lengthy discussion. But I will say all of the items that we got on this page were directly from our conversation. So item 3 got on there because we went through and we talked about it in 2 different ways. We talked about even and odd year elections, and we talked about term lengths. And we had consensus based on the notes that at least that I took of that, and I think I even had it like, yeah.
Let's go back and revisit that. If this is the time to do that.
Well, we'll start at number 1. We'll get
Okay.
there, but yeah, this is the top of it. So Rob, while she's
Go on ahead, I'll follow along.
yeah, while she's sending it, well, I thought we'd start at the easy one. Number 1 is amend various sections of the charter to update such references as him, her, or his to them, their, or they as applicable. And the purpose was to update terminology consistent with current practices. This is also something that we discussed at length. And okay. So did that make sense to you, Rob?
Yes, I'm in agreement.
About having it right in front of you?
It
Yeah.
should be there. Commissioner Rourke, I just sent it.
I have that. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. All right, so on that one, I'm just gonna, does anybody, first off, can I have a motion to approve, please?
Number one.
Okay, and a second?
I'll second. Yanshi said, yeah, she
Yeah, I got
made a motion.
And, okay, so we have a motion and a second on number one. Is there any further discussion? If not, could you call the roll, please, on number one?
Commissioner Arevalo? Commissioner Burleson?
Yes.
Commissioner Meeks?
Yes.
Commissioner Rourke?
Yes.
Commissioner Tomites?
Aye. Okay, so number one passes. Yeah. Okay, item two is amend various sections of the charter that require publication of public notices in a newspaper to additionally require posting of such notices on the city website and applicable social media. I know we went round and round on the language of this. Can I have a motion for discussion, please? Okay, Nancy. Michelle. Any discussion on number two?
I think it's just a way to keep information accessible. That's the purpose of that.
Yeah, I know, I think it was Daniel that originally, had, introduced this one, and, if I recall. And, I know we talked about it at length and tried to wordsmith it as best we could with the language that made the most sense.
So is this the wording as number two is? Is that the wording we're suggesting?
Yes, so, I'm sorry so this language is, so when you see the number of the item and then language, that's as we're sending it to council.
Okay.
And that is the language that, while may not be 100% what ends up on the ballot in terms of the legalese of the way ballot language should be worded, if it were to go to council and there was no amendment, I'm sure it would look almost exactly like this.
Yeah, we kind of reserve the right after council has its final say to write it just so for the ballot for or against, but this is the substance of, yeah, and I'm not expecting that we're gonna have to change a lot of these. I'm just saying that between now and the ballot, it could be a slight tweak, but it would not be a substantive tweak. Yeah, let's put it that way. Be grammatical or.
And we put the purpose here to improve transparency regarding matters of public interest as citizens increasingly relying on social media for information. So we try to reflect the reason so that not just the public, but that city council can understand our motivation for putting this to the people. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on number two? If you'll call the roll, please.
Commissioner Arevalo?
Aye.
Commissioner Burleson?
Aye.
Commissioner Meeks?
Aye.
Commissioner Rourke?
Aye.
Commissioner Tomites?
Aye. So we'll skip number three. No, I'm just kidding. No, number three, amend section 3.01 to increase the term of office for mayor from 2 years to 4 years with allowance for 2 consecutive terms with a break of at least 2 years after such consecutive terms to become effective at the regular election in November 2028. The purpose was to enable the mayor to focus on matters of city business without the burden of campaigning every 2 years and align mayoral elections with election years having the highest voter turnout. For purposes of discussion, can I have a motion, please? Nancy.
First motion.
Amy.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second discussion.
I
Oh,
do
John.
reserve it. Oh,
Hold on a second, Rob. Let's let Amy go and then we'll.
Okay, and then, thank you.
but I remember a lot of discussion about it. I remember that when was still with us, you know, rest in peace. I was never comfortable with 4 years. So I was still vacillating. I understood the argument that 2 years may be too brief because they really only have 1 year to focus on city business and then next year they're starting to think about the election already. So I understand that and that line of thinking, but I do feel like 4 is too much because what if we get somebody who's not a good mayor? And we have had people who have been single term mayors because the people weren't happy with it. So I'm afraid of agreeing to a 4-year term. I also have to say that I'm thinking more like 3 years. Maybe we should go to 3. I also am a little confused by how it says of a break. If we go from the 2 year as it currently is to 4 year with allowance for 2 consecutive terms with a break of at least 2 years, well, it would have to, if we go to 4 years, it would have to be at least 4 years. I don't understand how it can only be 2 years. And maybe I'm just not understanding the semantics of how that might work out. But the way it's worded here, if we go to 4-year terms and they serve 2, that's 8 years, then they would have to sit out another 4 years before they could run again. So I'm not sure why we have the break of at least 2 years.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah, that may just be.
I know we talked at length about, on the 13th of February, we talked at length about this item, and we also talked about the time in between service of elected terms. So I think the 2 years just got
But I don't know.
we got blended into this item when I know we talked about, well, how long should elected officials stay out of office once they run?
Brian, I remember talking about.
I wanted it 4 years.
But that was me. I should have caught the 2 year.
Yeah, and I didn't
We did
catch-
talk about the 2 years during that discussion. That was the break, but your logic makes sense, I think.
Are there
On
other elected offices where you have to stay out for a certain amount of time in the city?
It's 1 year, isn't it?
That, like, I know on Queen it's 1 year, you can time out.
Right.
Or whatever.
If you go to 301,
It's 1 year, you should have set out.
and in our previous charter review, we recommended longer than a year. But I want to say we recommended 4 years.
And are those two things we're talking about, term of the mayor as well as how long you have to stay out? Are those in the same wording? Are they in the same?
Same section?
Yes, same section. Or are we just putting it?
I think, I don't think it's in the same
So
section.
we're complicating. Maybe we don't want to complicate.
So explain.
Oh, yeah, it isn't.
If you look at 3.01C.
Yeah.
It's all lumped together in terms of their terms of office for council and mayor. It's in one paragraph. And
Yeah, that's why it's there, but 2 years doesn't make sense. You're right. It would, if this were,
If we go to
approved,
the-
it would have to be 4 years.
And that's on me, commissioners.
Oh, that's.
I should have said it.
Rob, you were gonna say something.
Well, there was some additional language you added in I didn't see written down there when you were reading it off, but let's.
Oh, that would have been from on the purpose statement right
Yes.
below the section. Enable mayor to focus on matters without the burden of campaigning. Is that what you're talking about?
Right, and then you added in some other wording right after that.
Yeah, and align mayoral elections with electioneers having the highest voter turnout.
Yes, okay. I didn't see
Yeah.
that written there, is what I was asking.
It's not.
Let me go back. Am I just?
You want to make sure we sent the right version.
What do you mean?
To enable the mayor to focus on matters of city business without the burden of campaigning every 2 years is all that I see for purpose on what I have.
Okay, there's a follow-up edited version we'll send to you right now.
Okay, that's fine. I want to make sure what I'm
Thank you.
voting on, that's all.
Absolutely.
Well,
Just got the wrong one.
I apologize.
That's all right.
I don't have the other
was
one.
missing that. Okay, so John, let's go back to what Amy on that discussion. Then once that's resolved by me, but let's go back to Amy's discussion first. So
Okay.
where you,
We can't.
this is that two years in between, I think is where I'm hearing that you're having some discussions right now, right? That break?
That is one of the points of discussion, yes. The other is how long a term mayor is. We can focus on whichever you want to focus on right now.
He said he's the only.
Well, the 2
Let's
years.
focus on
doesn't
one going forward. So for the discussion right now, so where are we at on the mayor as far as the term? I'm still at the 4 year. I'm good with that.
Okay,
Just has to move down some.
so Rob, I'm sorry, we just have some people speaking right outside. We gotta shut the door.
Okay.
So here's the deal. I want you to take y'all's time to go through this. Obviously, the 2 years, if this were adopted as written, it would have to be 4 years. You'd have to wait one term, yeah. So I think that clears that up, but let's talk about the increase in term and Amy, you brought it up, and Michelle, I know you want to talk about it as well. So
Okay, well, I was just saying that I remember during our discussion previously, when Jim was still with us.
Yeah.
We had quite a lengthy discussion, and Rob, you were here in person, about what we thought was the best length of term for a mayor to serve. It's currently at 2 years, with council members serving a 3-year term each time. With the 2-year term, it's been pointed out that the mayor jumps in, both feet, raring to go, gets things moving, but then as soon as the first year is over, it often seems like the mayor shifts their focus to reelection instead of staying focused on getting things done for the city. So that's why they were saying maybe a 2-year term is too short. Some people are advocating for 4 years. I'm not one of those. I think 4 years is too long, because if we have somebody who gets elected fairly and squarely, but yet turns out to be an ineffective mayor, or even maybe a damaging mayor, one that is causing harm, I think that we should be able to vote them out without having to endure 4 years. So that's why I'm okay to increase it from 2 years to 3 years, but I don't really feel comfortable going to 4, because our recent history, we have had people who have just been one-term mayors for good reason. And I feel like we need to allow the citizens to have a voice more frequently than every 4 years. So that's why I'm okay to change it, but I would prefer 3 and not 4. And my recollection is, this John, Chairman Tomites, I'm not sure how I should
just say John.
Yes. My recollection is that we did have quite a lively discussion about it. And it was very obvious that there were some differences in the room, but I don't remember we ever took a solid vote on it, but maybe that's.
No, we haven't voted on anything.
We just went by consensus, and
Oh, okay,
so tonight.
okay.
And this is just from my notes on the 13th, it was the 6th item that we discussed. At least at that time, we had 7 people and we had 4 years mayor and 4 years off in between. So that's my fault for not catching that. And that's what we ended up with. And I've got 6 slashes and a cross. So that would be
What does that mean?
7 people, 7.
Well, that-
7 people.
To kind of like.
7 people.
increase it, but after thinking about it and seeing things.
That's fine.
And going back, looking at things,
Change.
I'm not in favor of 4 years either, because, I mean, no. I can't, it's too long for local government. It's just, and not having elections and people not being able to reverse something that they may not now agree with. I think that 3 years is better. That's what city council is, and I think that the mayor should be the same thing. I don't think we should have a mayor that outlasts the council. kind of per se too. I like I'm in total agreement with the 3 years, but I don't like the 4.
Yes,
When you presented to the mayor last time, what did she have to say about this?
she said the same thing she said the last time this was
Which
recommended.
was,
She said that she wasn't interested in it. And she also said that she was not interested in term limits. But I happened to look at the term limit amendment that we made, recommendation that actually did get to the voters without her support, and it got 83% of the vote.
for there to be term limits.
Yes, ma'am.
For the mayor or for everybody?
For everyone.
For everybody, I think everybody thought term limits are a good thing, because that way you can kind of, that's another way of trying to get new blood in there at some point.
And I think, Michelle, you were with me. I mean, when we went, I think we made it very clear that we were not talking about this mayor. We were not talking about any of the council members that were in the room. I tried to get across that our work, we didn't mention anybody when we were going through our discussions. We were talking about what we felt was best for the city through the charter review process. Why else is the charter review process in the charter? It's required. That means it's important. And that means that this body, and this is what I intend to get across to the elected officials when I go back, is that this body is, you have to listen to us. You don't have to accept everything that we suggest. However, it's mandated by the charter that we do this, not you. Or else the city council would just do the charter review revisions by themselves. And so it's my hope that they understand that we took the 20 hours of debate and discussion, plus tonight, whatever that ends up to be. We are the ones that took all this time. We're the ones that had these debates because they're unable to do so. They don't have 25 hours to give
Extra
to
hours.
any one item. It's impossible. And they can only meet on the dais. So, whatever we end up recommending, ultimately it's not their call, it's the voters who have to say yes or no. And if you look back at the 2021 revisions, I think there was about 20 recommendations, only 3 or 4 didn't make it. And they were all kind of centered around one issue.
You mean so the majority of them did make it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And like term limits, and there were, I don't think our current mayor, who was mayor in 2021, was the only one that was opposed to term limits, but there was a majority descended onto the voters, and then 83% approved it. So, I mean, that's why I'm hoping that whatever we send gets to the voters. But that being said, I know we're talking about number 3, so.
So I guess I want to hear from you and Rob.
Well, go ahead, Rob. Why don't you say what you want to say, and then I'll wrap it up.
Okay,
And we'll
so the
take a
question
vote.
I have is, then you have the mayor going on a 3-year term. Okay, so then they're going to be in off-year elections where currently, so are they going to be on, I'm just trying to figure out in my mind how that's going to work, John, and Sam, how this would be laid out on a timetable as far as the elections go.
Well, I'll jump in, Rob, just on that issue. Early on in late February, Sam had sent the group a population and of San Marcos and elections. And one of the reasons I think was because it came right after this meeting. We had our discussion about this item on the 13th of February, and then less than 2 weeks later, we got this information. But for instance, in 2023, we had a population of 71,569. And we had a total voter turnout for mayor, or not for mayor, for city council was 3,900 plus 4,300. So one candidate got 43, one candidate got, so roughly 8,000, say. In 2024, when the mayor's seat was up, just under 24,000 people voted for mayor. So I understand if you don't want to go 4 years, that's fine. It's not going to happen. But was the gist of the conversation,
Yeah.
was that in the highest elected position in our city should have the highest voter turnout, should be the election that chooses that office, as well as those voters are no better, no worse, or their vote counts no less or more than anybody else's vote. Because the people, the 8,000 people that voted the year before for a city office, they're going to vote in that 2020, they're going to vote in the even year election too. But there's just a lot of people that only come out in even year elections. And so I think if you remember back to our conversation, we talked about I think it was you, Amy, that asked me what was the gist of, because at that point we were still dealing with the council priorities. We had gone through all those and we asked what did the conversation go like at city council? So, and I think I brought that up, was that there was some sort of insinuation that these less frequent voters they're not as engaged or they're not as knowledgeable. And I think we have to, personally, I just feel like we have to reject that. Everybody's vote counts exactly the same. And if we start trying to pick votes, so that's why with odd year elections, and if we don't go to 4 because there's not 4 votes to do so, that's fine. But with odd year elections, I can never allow our mayor, the top official, to have such a low voter turnout, be chosen by so few people. I just couldn't support that.
But people have to care. You have to care about your city. And you have to know, because I know there are times that I'd much rather be somewhere else doing something else. But I make sure that I'm in town if I didn't vote early, and I make arrangements to go vote. People have to go vote. And a lot of times, the reason why you see a lot higher turnout are college students. And I don't have anything against college students, but oftentimes they come in, they do our election, they may be gone the next year, but we're left here holding the bag with everything that they voted for, but they really didn't have an interest per se in our local city government. They just went and voted. And so I think sometimes when you see this higher voter turnout, it's for, you're seeing a lot of college students because you're seeing a lot of things that are going, they're not necessarily coming out to vote for the city. They're coming out because you have some president or governor's race or Senate race or something. That's what they're coming out to vote. We're just getting the blowback from that. And the mayor is only for 2 years because I asked her, but I still think that that's not enough time. I know, I asked her and he said she liked the idea of 2 years, but we just thought, well, not we, I think that it should be 3 years. I think the same thing you do. I just think it's not enough time, but 4 years is just too much. Like, I think 4 years is way too much even for city. In my opinion.
Well, okay.
I mean, I don't know, that's just how I feel. I think that what you see in those years that you get all of those votes, that's a lot of votes because people are coming out to really vote for something else.
I was just looking for the total. I'm looking at the 2024. There's 24 towns. for one council member. I made a copy of it, and there was a page, second page of that. But I want to say that there was a total of like 40,000 votes for mayor, but that's okay.
It was the year that I think Alyssa and ran, and it was that year, whatever year that was, there was an enormous amount, but you had, it was a presidential election. And we had a lot of, college votes too.
Well, yeah,
It was a lot of votes that year.
I
That
get
was a good
that.
turnout.
That
That wasn't for the mayor, that was for something else.
They
So,
have to be on that.
yeah.
So, Yasi, how are you feeling on this? 3, 4?
Me?
Yes.
I like the 4.
Okay.
Yeah, there it is. No,
Thank you.
it's not it.
That's not it?
Oh, yeah, it is. I'm sorry. Yeah. So there was a total, just as, and I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but there was a total of 23, 19. No, it was total 20, total votes, 23,000. So 24,000. The prior year, there was roughly what we said, 8,000 in the off year. There's no way that 12,000 of those votes were college students. No way. And I'm telling you, because I've stood for election
But
8
it's-
times in this city.
But it's still because you had a presidential election. Anytime you.
Right, exactly.
Exactly.
That's the point.
But they don't really care about the down ballot, most of those.
But they
people-
voted.
But they voted, and that's what's scary, because a lot of them, I don't.
How do you
think
know
pay
they
a lot
don't
of
care?
attention. Because we have people now that are coming back saying, like, okay, when you would talk to people after it happened, well, I just voted because I thought, but I really didn't pay attention to that because I was so focused on the presidential election.
Right, but they voted for mayor. How do you know they didn't care of who won?
Well, I mean, I'm thinking that
I don't, and in other words, I'm saying is I don't think we can say that.
people in an off year, where if they really care, they're gonna come vote all the time, is all I'm saying. If people really care about voting and you really care about what's happening in your city, and I think now in the climate that we live in, you're gonna see a lot more people going out to vote. And seeing them going out to vote as often as they probably can. But, I just think that I'm not worried about how many actually come out to vote in an off year, an even year, when you have like midterms and presidential election. I like to think that if it's important enough, whenever the election is, you're gonna go vote.
Well, by that logic, every election for mayor then should be in an odd year. Because you're saying,
I'm saying whoever it is, any election.
well,
If you care, you're gonna go vote. So I don't wanna
But
say
they
that
did
you
go
don't
vote
care,
and
but I'm
they-
just saying, if you really care about local government,
yeah,
in an off year, you will go vote. You don't need to depend on an even year for people just to go vote because it's an even year and we're gonna get all these votes. I think that you get a much truer, I think that you get a better picture of how people are really feeling
okay.
in that off year because they took the time to go vote and it wasn't something major that got them out to vote.
Well, okay. So we have a motion and a second as written, as amended, and I will say it would be as amended with 4 years, not 2.
Okay.
Because 2 was incorrect. And in fact, we have in the notes 4 years off in between.
Yeah.
From the 13th. We just missed that part. So this proposal says increase terms of office for mayor for 4 years. From 2 years to 4 years for 2 consecutive terms with a break of at least 4 years. To become effective beginning November 2028. The reason we began November 2028 was it coincided with the next presidential election. And I would be fine to even make that 2032. I don't care. I just feel like You have more voters, that's better. I don't care how they come, where they come from, or why they're voting. They're voting. That should matter. But that's the way it's written. So is there any more discussion?
One more thing, John.
Yes,
On
sir.
that note, then the current mayor, what, if we move that to 2028 for the next mayoral election, the current term of the mayor ends when?
In 20,
In 24, wasn't she reelected in 20?
yeah, 2026.
26.
Okay. So then you'd have one more 2-year term then,
Correct.
right? Okay.
That's correct. Yeah. And then beginning in November 2028, the terms would go from 2 years to 4 years, as written here, if it passed, which it's not going to.
I have a question. And Rob, I don't mean to, I want you to still finish your discussion. I have another question for whenever the floor is.
Go ahead. That was what I needed to know. Thank you. I'm done.
Okay, so obviously I'm not gonna vote in favor of this. So does that mean then that that's just off the table, or do we create, like, could I put another motion on the floor for
You
three
could.
to see if that passes?
You
I
could,
mean, how does that happen?
well, we're going to start with voting on this one.
Okay,
Anything else? Okay, go ahead and call the roll on number 3, please.
Commissioner Arevalo,
Aye.
Commissioner Burleson,
No,
Commissioner Meeks,
no,
Commissioner Rourke,
Aye.
Commissioner Tomites,
Aye. Okay, so that's 3, that's
And
not
so
passed.
this is a, well, with some of our boards and commissions, there's ordinances that require a quorum of the body to pass. We're not under those rules like with bylaws. So under Robert's rules, if you have a quorum, a majority of the quorum actually carries the day. Now, if it's up to y'all if you don't feel comfortable presenting it that way to council, but legally, 3 votes, because it's a majority of those
What
present.
board is that with?
Where it's a required majority of the, or
Where it's a quorum of the.
it's for certain things, like I think P and Z, there was the bylaws, and actually maybe the charter requires 5 votes for any action. So it's mandated that it be a majority of the whole body. This commission being a temporary commission, we don't have a set of bylaws, and I was just looking at the charter and I don't see a provision that says it must be a majority of the entire body. So it's technically you could go forward with the 3 votes, but that's the comfort level of you as a body. But legally, that would.
Well,
And of course, council would see that vote breakdown.
yeah.
I think you have, if you're going to say that, I think I would prefer that it be, very well explained, that you say this was a preliminary discussion, there was dissension between the members.
the minutes will reflect that.
Because, you know, we all know if Jim were here, I think he wasn't in favor of that.
I think he was, but
Yeah, you know,
No,
so.
he definitely
He
was
definitely-
not.
So I feel like, you know, that just, somehow I feel like that's full disclosure. I
He
would
said
like
no
full
to 4
disclosure.
years, he told us that.
Yeah. he
And
was
no
very
one
clear in
started
that
term.
discussion. He was very clear in the
He was
discussion.
very clear in even the discussion.
Yeah.
He wasn't. in favor.
But I just want full disclosure.
What the council would see, and whatever they get, they would see that it's not a unanimous vote. If, you know,
And somebody even said they see who
versus the other
voted which
ones.
way.
well, the minutes will show that.
But they don't know because the minutes do. I mean, they have a lot of things to do.
I don't even, you can present it, but I don't even think that the majority of council wants 4 years. And when you talk to people in the community, they don't want 4 years. I just think that if you put it up, let people see.
You know, it would be
see what
interesting
they
to see
think.
what the voters decide,
It would be interesting to see. But I think in the.
because
climate-
that's where it really matters.
Yeah.
I mean, I would just like, even if it failed, I'd like to see what the voters want.
Because think about it, you don't even have, what are senators? Two,
Six.
Six,
Or
Six.
US,
I mean-
US senators?
no, yeah, but it's the, what is it? Our state, what are the state reps? They're what, 2 years?
Not positive for a while.
No, it's 2 years. I'm almost sure, it's something
well,
that's 2
Congress
years.
is 2 years.
Congress is
Yeah.
2 years.
House
So
of
I'm
Representatives.
thinking if Congress is 2 years, why are we putting a mayor in?
So why is every other mayor in our corridor at 4 years? Why is it almost every mayor that I ever met at the US?
People in Kyle, I'm just surprised that they haven't done something about it yet. You hear the people in Kyle complaining that they can't wait for another election sometimes.
No, I'm just
When
saying,
things have gone bad.
well, I get
they
it, Michelle, but I'm just saying that it's like, I'm just saying that I wonder why I attended 3 conference of mayors, US conference of mayors, 600, 700 mayors at a time. And not one person that I meet had a 2-year term, but me. We were the only city, then they couldn't believe it.
Well, let's go to 3.
Well, if we had a turnout that was not pitiful, not 8 times less than an even year election, I would say, yeah, let's go to 3. But 8 times fewer people vote, 7 times fewer people. I cannot support that, but I don't want to force anything that this board is not.
I think it'll be okay, because this is the perfect timing for this. Because I can't see any time in my lifetime in history that things have been this crazy in the world. So people are gonna be paying attention. And you have people right now saying,
Could be.
I can't wait to vote in 2 years. That's why you have midterms. Because that way you can put a stop to craziness.
Yeah.
If we didn't have midterms, what in the world would we do for you got 3 more years of craziness. But at least, I mean, the people are losing we haven't even begun to see the craziness yet. So when you can already project what's coming your way, that's all you hear people say, it's okay, we have midterms. We're able to vote in 2 years. And so this is the perfect time if they do put it out to the voters, because people are gonna think in their mind, oh my God, if I had to wait 4 years to get craziness out, we'd be in trouble.
Well, my guess is they're going to put it on the ballot this year.
That's what I'm saying,
2025.
that would be, well, that'd be good, because people are thinking
I
about it.
would prefer they wait till next year or 2028.
No, they need to put it on the ballot this year, and that would be a good thing, because now I've never seen this many people paying attention in my whole life. Because now, and the people that are paying attention the most are the people that it's hurting the most, and it's not some of us, it's other people that it's really hurting. So now I think you're gonna see a difference in opinion. People are gonna be able to, you're gonna see voter turnout like you haven't seen before. And that's gonna might be good, it might be bad, but a lot of things I think that are gonna happen might be out of fear, anger, all these things, and we're gonna have to live with that too. So you're gonna see a lot of things that are gonna transpire. So this might be actually a good time to see what people, because now you have people really thinking. And I think it'll be interesting to see what'll happen.
Yeah, so you had your hand up.
I forgot my initial question, but there's another question that came up for me. Is there a process? So I hear what y'all are saying about, if a mayor's elected and they're there for 4 years and people don't like them. Is there a process to kick a mayor off or elect a council member off?
Yes, it's in the city charter and state law. You can have a recall election. And now there are limits in the charter. We went over for, you can only try and recall somebody so many times, like, so it's not every 6 months having a recall, but yes, the power of recall is built in for all of the council, including the mayor in
So
terms
if
of
people
the-
really didn't like a mayor who was there for 4 years, and say they're on year 2 and they think this mayor's, not the best, they have the power to do that, right?
there is a power of recall in the charter and state law. Yes, ma'am.
I don't really get that.
How
And
difficult.
it's not gonna happen and it's difficult. And another reason why, it's not about not liking a person. I don't want you, let me just clarify, it's not about like we have a mayor and I might not like them or their demeanor or something like that. It's about when you get people that they can vote on things that are just not good for the city. But they have their vote, and so a lot of people see that as a really bad thing. Do you see what so when people are voting and doing things that could really harm the city, we have to put up with 4 years of that could really down the road, really affect San Marcos in the way that things
If
happen.
it's in the charter, we don't really have to put up with it.
It's section 6.06, but yes,
Oh, I remember my other question. I forget.
Yeah.
Should we wait until Danielle comes back for this vote?
Well, since you brought that up, I was gonna ask let's ask, what does the board want to do? Since it's not really clear whether we want to work by a majority of the board or a majority of those present. I don't want anybody to feel like, something's getting shoved down their throat, even if it's just a motion of disagreement. Rob, go ahead. Go.
You're on mute.
Can't hear you. Can't hear.
My bad. Yeah, you can hear me. Thank you very much.
Now we go. Yeah.
2 items. First, I want to point out the irony of that we're saying put this to the voters in the 4 years on the lowest election year, but this is what we're going to do. Okay, it's ironic. Second, Robert's rules. Let's go back. Robert's rules say that right now that we're under Robert's rules, Sam, we have a simple majority. A simple majority is here. We know we're up against the clock here. I just present it to council with our votes that we've got right now. If they decide to put it out to the voters, let the voters will decide and we move forward.
Thanks, Rob.
So would you say this, or I guess just for.
That it was not unanimous. Yes.
Okay, but you
absolutely.
won't say 3-2, you'll just say it wasn't unanimous, or how do you even do that? I mean, that
Well-
complicates what you have to say.
Not really.
Okay. But will you say like on number 1 and 2?
I mean,
unanimous?
I know I'm not naive to the fact that the one person on the dais that probably should support this doesn't, but it's not about them. It's not about who's there now. It's about who's going to be there in the future. And I truly do believe, and I'm not arguing with you. I respect both of y'all's difference of opinion, but I truly, I'm only doing it because I'm only suggesting it because I truly believe that, we ought to have a stronger mayor, one that can lead the city and be there to see anything that what was their agenda on their campaign is seen through to the end, because I know that he knows the time schedule of city council is not 2 years, it's not 3 years, but 4 years, you've probably got an idea approved, designed, and funding started.
The argument to that is If they're that good, they'll be reelected in 2 years. See what I'm saying?
That's-
If they're that good, they're gonna be reelected.
I would debate that.
Don't like it, that's when they have an opportunity to put a
Well-
stop to whatever someone's
I think-
doing, that's all we're saying.
I think also 2 years is not accessible for a lot of people. Right? If they wanted to run for mayor, that's a lot of money. Right? Every 2 years, or essentially every like, not even every 2 years, because you're gonna run, if you wanna be reelected, you're essentially gonna do it right after your second term, right? Your second year. So I think also this, from 2 to 4 years, keeps it more accessible for people who want to run. And that just removes that barrier of the financial barrier of running for mayor as well.
But
And so-
why would people agree?
For the whole,
Election cycle?
yeah, for the election cycle, like, I agree with John. About keeping it on even years and getting the most voters out there.
Well, it's about voter turnout, that's why you're for, it's not really because you think they need four, you would be okay with me extending it to two. So in theory, you'd be okay with three, but because of the. Okay, well, I know. but I'm
And I just know that some people that even wanna be on P and Z, once they realize that's pretty much a 3-year commitment, they kind of back up, because just like, if you're not grounded and you, I mean, I don't know, I just say, take it to the voters. This is the perfect year to take it to the voters.
Okay. All right, it sounds like we have just a
Yeah.
difference of opinion, but we have a vote and we will present it as transparent as we can. Okay,
Yeah, they'll have the numbers.
they'll have the numbers.
We just need them to know that, I just want them to know that I'm not in favor.
No, that'll be reflected in, return the minutes and all that.
Okay, I'm gonna go to number 4, which is amends section 309 to reduce the minimum number of regular council meetings during a calendar year from 22 to 20. We discussed this on February 13th. It was the first thing that we discussed. That was a request from council to provide flexibility. Do we have a motion for this one, please? Okay, we have a motion, a second. And any discussion? If not, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Arevalo, Commissioner Burleson, Commissioner Meeks,
Aye.
Commissioner Rourke,
Aye.
Commissioner Tomides,
Aye. Okay, so we have a passing item there. Number 5 is amend section 309 to limit the number of meetings in which a council member may participate by video conference to 3, with allowances for additional participation by video conference under circumstances defined by ordinance, such as declarations of disaster or when a council member is ill. So we have a purpose to encourage face-to-face interactions among council members and to maintain in-person interactions between elected officials and the public throughout the council member's term of office. Sure the date of when we talked about this, but I know we did discuss it. Do we have for discussion, a motion to amend, please, or motion to approve? Nancy,
To discuss.
it's a motion to approve to discuss.
I'll second.
And Michelle. Okay, so now we can discuss it.
And just remind me, please, what is the limit now, or is there no?
There is no limit.
Oh, well, I am in favor.
Go ahead, Nancy.
So what is the consequence if they go more than 3 Zoom calls? I mean, Zoom calls.
We did not specify specific consequences like, at the time, I don't think we landed on it, that there's a penalty, right? It's sort of charter jail, but, there are a lot of provisions in here, where kind of restrictions are in place and we're just sort of duty bound to follow them, right? So could an ethics complaint be filed potentially, right? It's something like that.
There is a-
You would get a reprimand, for example, right?
Well, there is a provision in the charter that council members cannot miss more than 3 consecutive meetings in a row.
But you mean
Right.
participate, so if they participated by Zoom, they wouldn't be missing.
Right. But if they missed them all together, say, and it's in the charter, does that mean if a council member doesn't meet the absentee policy, the actual written policy that the city has for that, and it's not an illness or it's not covered, they just decide not to come, do they automatically get ejected from the council? No. But the council would have to decide, because that's also in the charter, the qualifications of that member to continue to serve. But it's a nuclear bomb to try to remove the council. Does that make sense? That's a little complex.
I know the short, speaking of what you were asking, there is a way that they can expand that because it says with allowances for additional participation by video conference defined like during declarations of disaster or when that council meeting is ill. So they could do 3 legally just.
Oh,
because
sure. They could do 6 if they were,
They could say
So there really is like no limit.
No, but this is just sending a message to kind of like, if you're making a commitment, try to keep up with your commitment because it's not fair for everyone else that takes the time, like you make a commitment, you show up. Sometimes people don't show up, you can't meet, or it just causes problems. And then it's just not right, like they need to show up and be there. I mean, I don't know, you've been on board, you go, you show up, like, you know what I mean?
They do show up.
And they
but,
should show up.
It's a little unusual, like one of the things that's, and this is in every city, is this notion that you were elected by the people. And most cities are reluctant to have provisions where the council can remove other elected, your colleagues because they're elected. Are there some charters that provide for that type of process, for like a removal process and?
ours does.
Yeah. But for this particular, I guess, offense, it's what level do you want to raise it to? To the level of, should they be removed from office? That's.
No, I
So
think
we
we
didn't establish a penalty.
left it blunt, we
Yeah.
left it vague for a purpose. It's not a matter. I will point out one thing is, Yancy, is you can move, like you can take a job in another state and miss, and if you have 1 year left on your term, you can move out of the city in December and serve and get a paycheck and not see any citizen and not have any face-to-face encounter with your colleagues until the following election. You can do that now.
I think that was part.
But
of
after,
the
that
discussion.
was absolutely part of this discussion.
Right, because you could just participate by video. the remainder.
And so I know that we talked about different numbers. I remember specifically, Jim, at 3. I think we talked about 5. But
I think 3 is good because.
that's where
when
we
you go
ended
to
up.
5, you're already at a half a year.
We ended up,
People can be moved and video conferencing and all that. They need to be here in the community.
engaged.
Yeah, you need to represent the community that you were elected to represent.
And as a reminder, one of my points on that was I want to be able to see my council people there. I don't want to have to be doing it through a video screen if I come down and speak. And that was my big point for as few meetings as possible. So.
okay, so, and this was discussed by us on March 5th. At our March 5th meeting. So is there any other discussion on number 5? Yes, ma'am.
So hypothetical, what if council member has an emergency that they need to be, that they can't be in person and it's more than 3? Is
There,
that okay?
there's a council member, there's a ordinance,
Mhm.
a law that lists what the excused absences be. So if it's an illness or it's a family member illness or anything like that, it's covered under the typical absentee policy that the council debated and put together.
And so the way this is worded right now, of course, or a couple of ways to do this, is you build it all into into the charter. But then it's like, what level of minutia do you want to have it in the charter in terms of defining what an excused reason for participating video is? And so I think the notion was, just like the council has an absentee policy, they would do a similar thing here for video conference. What are the excused absences? And of course, they have the model already, and it's basically based on almost like the FMLA leave. It's got to be illness or death of a family member, your illness,
Taking care of a relative.
yeah, those kinds of things, but not just like, oh, because I'm on vacation or even work was not really an excuse.
And they can decide, they can amend the ordinance if they want to put a penalty in for this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I doubt they would. This just sends a message that, look, you get elected, you got to stay in San Marcos and you got to show up to the meetings.
It encourages people to not want to move and still draw a paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah, just be present, just show up for the people that elected you.
Okay, so let's call the roll on this one, please.
Commissioner Arevalo,
Aye.
Commissioner Burleson,
Aye.
Commissioner Meeks,
Aye.
Commissioner Rourke,
Aye.
Commissioner Tomites,
Aye. Okay, that's passes unanimously. The next item was number 6, amend section 310 to require that the city council meeting agendas, including copies of minutes of the immediately preceding city council meeting, together with an agenda item for consideration of such approval of such minutes. This was to ensure public record of council actions is readily available to the public. In other words, they have to vote on the minutes of their previous meeting, just like every other meeting, which they're not doing.
So moved.
Okay, we have,
I'll second.
all right.
And I just want to clarify, I think this is good, and I think that our discussion, remind me if I'm wrong, was we're suggesting this because there have been so many weeks
Years.
when the minutes weren't available. And we're just wanting it to stay current, for the citizens to be able to be aware of what currently is.
Every meeting I think I've ever been in, no matter what the board was or commission, had the minutes of the prior meeting in it. And so this would just require that. Yes, ma'am.
Is this include copies of the minutes of the immediately preceding city council meeting for council members or also available for the public?
As an agenda item, so it would be on the city council agenda, which is public.
Yeah, it'd be part of the packet. So when we post our packet, you will see the proposed minutes as an attachment. Just like, yeah,
You can see it online or here in person.
I guess the reason I asked that is because I just worry about all the paper that has to be printed.
Oh, it's not printed anymore. It's
Okay.
all electronic. Yeah.
Then
It's all
I'm
electronic.
good. So,
And typically the city council minutes are, oh, I'm sorry, Rob, go
So
ahead.
2 questions. How does the city clerk feel about this? And I guess my thinking on this is we really don't have any ramifications. What if they don't? I guess.
This requires that they do it.
Yeah.
So,
I guess where I'm thinking is, okay, so city clerk's office has some issues, staffing. Maybe there's some recall election that they're having to go through and certify. I don't know. Something along that line. That's my only thoughts on this.
yeah. It's never been a problem in the past. I'm not sure why it is now, but I served for 15 years and voted on minutes in every meeting. So I don't know. Anything else?
I just think it's good because then if your memory's fresh, and then if something wasn't quite right in the minutes, then you have them that very next meeting and you can look at them and make the corrections because
It's important.
it's fresh.
your memory is fresh.
Yeah,
It's part of the record. It's really important.
So so all we're doing is formalizing what we feel like should be done.
It's a recommendation.
Yeah.
That's what, and again, everything is only a recommendation, so.
I'm
council-
shocked that it wasn't in the charter prior, to be honest. But you want to call the roll, please?
Commissioner Arevalo,
Aye.
Commissioner Burleson,
Aye.
Commissioner Meeks,
Aye.
Commissioner Rourke,
Aye.
Commissioner Tomides,
Aye. Okay, so that one passes. We'll go to number 7, amend section 3.13 to improve the wording of a run-on sentence and to clarify that printed copies of the code
Remember that one?
of ordinance may be available for purchase at a reasonable price. I think this was some minor language changes from the original run-on sentence.
We broke it into 2 sentences.
And I'm in favor.
Wait, we have a motion, please?
I'll second.
If there's no further discussion, do you want to call the roll, please?
Commissioner Arevalo,
Aye.
Commissioner Burleson,
Aye.
Commissioner Meeks,
Aye.
Commissioner Rourke,
Aye.
Commissioner Tomides,
Aye. Okay, number 8 was amend section 316 to acknowledge the authority of the city council to request or require audits of entities receiving funding from the city. Purpose was to set a standard ensuring that city council may require accountability for entities receiving public funds.
Motion to discuss.
Michelle
I'll second.
and Amy. Go ahead, any discussion? We want to kick it off?
Straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just make a statement that it's a kind of a gray area simply because there really is no authority. I mean, the council can request it. Under this wording, I think the council would still, as a body, have to request it. One council member can't just direct any, it has to be the whole group. I mean, I just feel like it probably was a matter of standard legal contracts that the council could do this, but there's other things besides just contracts that the council is creating negotiations with. And I know that I've been in the situation, I've heard of other council members say, gee, I wish I knew a little bit more about this particular organization that's going to be receiving city funds. It's not intended to be a cudgel, I guess, against any particular group, or, I can't imagine the council's gonna single out any group or any, large group or small group, but if it arises, they would at least have the authority.
I think it's a good idea just because I think it gives the council the ability to ask for the light to be turned on. We
Yeah.
just want to see what's going on with this company. My confusion, and I just thought this as you were talking, John, does it mean before they grant money to the company, or is it once they granted money?
I could see it both ways, they could do it as a request prior to the support of the grant, or they could do it, the grant is based on the fact that you provide a certain set of information to prove whatever.
So the way it's written, it could be.
Sure, absolutely. It could be, and they don't have to do it either. This just, I think, makes it a little bit more
Yeah,
formal.
you're right. Yeah, it's fuzzy, but I think that's okay.
I think it's a tool for the elected official.
For the regular.
Due diligence.
Clarify things.
Due
Due
diligence.
diligence.
Okay, that will call the roll.
Commissioner Arevalo, Commissioner Burleson,
Aye.
Commissioner Meeks,
Yes, aye.
Commissioner Rourke,
Aye.
Commissioner Tomides,
Aye. Okay, that'll move us to number 9, which is amend Article 6 to add a provision requiring a form of financial disclosure approved by the city council. There should be a comma there. approved by city council identifying the sources of, well, maybe there isn't a comma there. Don't let me be the grammar police. Approved by city council identifying the sources of funding for referendum and initiative petitions. You may recall this conversation that we had, just basically financial disclosure for groups who fund referendums and petitions, including contributions and expenses. And that was on March 19th. We had that conversation. Do we have a motion, please, for this? Yancy and Michelle. Any questions or discussion on 9? If not, we'll go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Edevalo, Commissioner Brosnan,
Aye.
Commissioner Meeks,
Yes.
Commissioner Rourke, Commissioner Rourke,
Aye.
Commissioner Tomites,
Aye. Okay. Okay, number 10 was amend section 602 to increase the time to file a referendum petition from 30 days to 90 days after passage of an ordinance. This was to allow citizens a more feasible timeframe in which to collect signatures for petitions challenging ordinances adopted by the city council.
And remember, the deal with referendum, initiative is like, and we've had that experience recently. We had that, the marijuana ordinance, that was an initiative because it's proposing. Referendum is where, we're not so happy with whatever council action may have taken, so we want to speak up against it, right? So that's the difference between referendum and initiative.
Okay, we have a motion on 10, please. Okay,
I'll second.
Amy and Michelle.
I think it's a good idea. The citizens need longer time to sort of get organized and figure out things.
Yeah, I mean, this goes from 1 month to 3 months, so.
It's 1 month, it's just not.
The referendum is, Sam, is what you said, where it's a petition drive and everything's on the page that they have. The actual ordinance language would be on the page that they're getting signed. Okay, if there's no further discussion, go ahead and call the roll, please.
Commissioner Edevalo,
Aye.
Commissioner Burleson,
Aye.
Commissioner Meeks,
Yes.
Commissioner Rourke,
Aye.
Commissioner Tomites,
Aye, okay. Number 11 is amend section 6.10 to increase the time for the city clerk to verify citizen petitions from 45 to 60 days.
I'll make a motion to discuss.
Michelle. Well, is your motion to approve or deny?
Approve.
We can discuss after.
Right, and you're, by the way, just so you're, even the move it, you're not bound by your own motion.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's on the table, that doesn't bind you to.
No, I'm in support of it though,
Yeah.
because it's not, she just doesn't have enough time to
Yeah.
verify all these things. I don't think that's just.
And it's only 15 more days, so that might be a lot for 2 more weeks.
And I remember this was on the 19th as well, change from 45 to 60 days. Seeing no or hearing no further discussion, I'll please call the roll.
Commissioner Edevalo, Commissioner Burleson,
Aye.
Commissioner Meeks,
Aye.
Commissioner Rourke,
Aye.
Commissioner Tomites,
Aye. Number 12 is amend section 7.01 to reduce the residency requirement for members of the Planning and Zoning Commission from 5 years to 3 years.
Motion to deny, I want to deny it,
Well, how do you?
or to discuss.
Well, you can make a motion to deny to discuss.
That's what I said.
But you gotta have a second.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion to deny by Michelle and seconded by Amy. Okay. So you guys want to kick it off? Conversation.
Michelle?
I'm just still not in favor, from changing P and Z from 5 years to 3 years. I'm just still not in favor.
Okay. Amy?
I tend to agree just because I've been on P and D now for several years. And I totally get it about new people who come in and wanting to be engaged, wanting to participate, wanting to become part of the fabric of this community. I so get that, and I'm so happy that we have people like that. My concern is that if we open up the door this wide, there are no other, there's no other checklist from which to find out their real commitment to staying in San Marcos, how much they really know San Marcos. I think just simply the time requirement of living here for 5 years, by essence of having been in town for 5 years, surely they know more than somebody who's been here for 3 years, right? And I know that's not always going to be the case, but it really makes me feel uncomfortable to feel like people who could be here for 3 years could literally be making decisions that will affect our city going forward for decades. And I'm not even sure they're gonna stay here, right? And so that's why I'm not in favor of the 3 years. I do think there's a reason, that they need to be here longer. So I'm okay with the 5. I wish that there were more safeguards in place, so I can feel comfortable with 3. But there aren't safeguards in place now that I feel comfortable. So for that reason, I can't go with it.
Yancy, Rob, any thoughts or conversation?
I'm just gonna go with,
What,
what is it,
point
the
of,
3
point of
years?
order. I'm gonna call a point of order just
Okay.
for a second. Where are
Okay.
we at, Mr. Chairman, on this is a discussion about the denial. We're not even, they wanted to deny. Are we on the table for this or where are we at?
Yeah, so there's a motion and it's to deny. So when we vote, if you vote yes, that means you're voting to deny the 3 years as recommended.
We're on number 12. Following along.
And if you vote no, that means no means yes, and yes means no.
Well, it doesn't
So-
mean yes, John, it just means he hasn't voted for the motion to deny, because we've done this at P and Z all the time.
Then you would have a new motion to approve.
Yes,
Yeah,
right.
okay. So if you vote yes, that means you're denying this proposal. If you vote no, that means you're not denying. If we want to,
If somebody wants to make a motion to approve, that goes forward.
Thank you. Okay, that's where I thought we were at, and that's what I wanted to do. No discussion. I'll vote when we get ready.
okay, thank you, Rob. Yancy, you were about to say something.
I just don't agree with that. If people who are applying for this position, whether they're here for 3 or 5 years, they're applying with the commitment to stay on this board for 3 years, at least. So it really, I just don't see your argument of, they might not stay. Well, they're gonna stay for the 3 years at least.
Since in the last 2 years that I've been there, we've had 2 that have left because they got better jobs and other things. So that's what we're saying, and then it just makes it harder. Cause you just want people that are committed, that are gonna stay around and try to, and
So,
just really
then
know
my
something
question
about
is,
San Marcos.
Were those people, have they already been living here for 5 years?
Yes.
So even at 5 years, they weren't.
Well, no, cause one had moved, he had lived here, moved, came back and then moved again. And then another one just,
So that's what I'm saying, even at 5 years, they weren't committed.
And that's a good point. I mean, you're right. And people like you and like us, when we commit to something, when we apply, we are the ones that know that we're getting until we're willing to stay. And I guess it's, I don't, it just goes down to the person.
Well, and also at the end of the 3 years, the person who say got appointed at 3 years has now been here 6 years. So for at least one of those years, they will meet the standard that I think you're wanting to see.
And there's no time that it ensures people will have reached out to them. And that they will be committed and that they will be invested and involved and engaged.
There are scoundrels that lived here for decades.
even talking about, because some people might not realize like, oh, I'm not gonna be here 2 years from now. I mean, anything could happen that any of us might have to leave. It's more about, you've only been here for 3 years in San Marcos, but we've been here 50 and 60 years. So how do you know, and even the people that have maybe been here 10 years, how do you know in 3 years what's good for everybody in San Marcos?
How do you know in 5 years, you know what's good for people in San Marcos? How do you know
But it
it
would
would
just-
just 10 years?
But what we're saying is it would just give you a better feel.
Because you probably have people who live here 10 years and don't even vote. You
Well,
know,
that's
and
anything.
so they're not involved, so the
But we're
amount
talking
of
about the
time.
people that actually want to be.
The amount of time
Get through.
that they're living here is just
It may not.
5 years, 10 years, 3 years, you know, that's not a, what's the word?
Not a guarantee.
Right,
We're just.
It's not even, I wasn't even talking about the participation part of it. I was just talking
Chair.
about
Chair.
people.
Okay, I'm, because this is getting really down into the weeds right now. Right now, we've had the discussion. I really want to know how you feel on this, John, because I'm gonna go, guys, whichever way this goes, I'm gonna go back and follow it up with a motion to approve. Okay? So we can go and I'd just as soon just take this vote. Because
Okay.
I'm gonna go on ahead and come
That's
back
all right.
and
We'll
follow it
we'll
up,
take the
and then
vote.
we'll have this discussion again, just so we can move this forward.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and we have a motion to deny and a second for that. So when you vote, if you vote yes, that means you're voting to not approve what's written. If you vote no, you know, not saying you're for what's written, but you're not for denying it. Does that make sense for everybody? Okay,
Yes.
so can you please call the roll?
Yes.
Commissioner Arevalo?
Aye.
Commissioner Burleson?
Yes.
Commissioner Meeks?
Yes.
Commissioner Rourke?
No.
Commissioner Tomides?
No.
Motion.
Okay, so the motion to deny fails. Is there an alternative motion that anybody wants to make?
I want to make a motion to approve as provided in the minutes.
Okay,
Or
we
in
have a
the-
motion from Rob and a second from Yancy. And we'll call the roll.
Sorry,
That's okay.
trying to get this down.
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Okay. Commissioner Arevalo?
Aye.
Commissioner Ayala, excuse me, Commissioner Burleson?
No.
Commissioner
Thanks.
Meeks?
No.
Commissioner Rourke?
Yes.
Commissioner Tomides?
Yes. Okay, so this is our second split vote for, we have a motion that passed to approve as written. Okay, section 13 is, or sorry, not section 13. Number 13 is amend section 702.7, 702, section 7 to change the interval for the Planning and Zoning Commission periodic review of the comprehensive plan from at least every 5 years to at least every 10 years.
I'm a commission. to approve.
I will say.
As
Yep.
written.
Motion from Michelle to approve and Amy to second. Okay, this was the one we talked about at our last meeting. Any conversation on this one? Hearing none, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Commissioner Arevalo? Commissioner Burleson?
Aye.
Commissioner Meeks?
Yes, aye.
Commissioner Rourke?
Aye.
Commissioner Tomides?
Aye. Okay, number 14 was amend section 802, providing that the city will endeavor to use plain language in the city's budget documents. Also, conversation from last week. I think that Daniel had introduced. Need a motion, please? Motion to approve.
Motion to approve?
And a second from Rob. Any conversation on 14? If not, we'll call the roll.
Commissioner Arevalo,
Aye.
Commissioner Burleson, Commissioner Meeks,
Aye.
Commissioner Rourke,
Aye.
Commissioner Tomides,
Aye. Okay, number 15 was to retitle Article 12 from general provisions to ethics and create a new Article 13 in the charter entitled general provisions.
Make a motion to.
Okay. We have a second for Amy. Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any conversation on 15? If not, or hearing none, I'll ask to call the roll.
Commissioner Arevalo,
Aye.
Commissioner Burleson,
Aye.
Commissioner Meeks,
Aye.
Commissioner Rourke,
Aye.
Commissioner Tomides.
Aye. Okay, and the recommendation regarding single member districts, which coincides with the original request from the city council. And also the explanation, Michelle, and that we gave when we made the interim report. Tried to just keep it consistent. The commission recommends that the city council study the possibility of transitioning from at-large elections of city council members to elections via single-member districts in whole or in part with appropriate levels of community engagement and education and the retention of experts as deemed necessary. If that wording is okay with everybody, that we will include that as part of the final report. I will point out that the city of Kyle had, there was, I think if Rob, you maybe sent it to us, they had 6, they weren't setting it up for the first time. They were just amending a district or two, and they had 6 public meetings with it's a law firm. A law firm is who has to do this because there's the Voting Rights Act and the legal, very, very legal issues associated with districts, redistricting. And they had 6 public meetings held by that law firm. So this is a significant commitment. And it was brought up I think there was a request, a question about it when we went to present at the interim report. And we were very clear that, look, the onus for the beginnings of this is not just to run to the voters, it's with them. And that 2 of them can put this on the agenda next week if they want to. We said the same thing 4 years ago and nobody's putting anything on the agenda. So it's still, this is not magic science, how these things go.
It's, well, and it's a cost factor too. There's a lot of
Absolutely.
money. We're at a deficit and things are unstable, I think that they have to look at that. It's something I believe that will eventually probably happen. And, but I don't see it happening right now. I think they might could do it and start to prepare. Because like we said, no matter what you do at this point, it's not gonna happen for 6 or 8 years. So at some point, they're gonna have to start figuring it out in order for it to happen in the future. But it won't be like some people
I need an
get all excited by thinking, oh, we can get single member
Agenda.
district.
You have one in your, it's right, isn't it right? Oh,
I have a question.
Oh, there,
no, that's.
your hand's on it.
No, those are minutes.
Oh.
Signed from last
I do
week.
not have.
Okay.
Hold on.
Does this include our work? What do we do now?
Now, hold on. I know you have a question. I did forget one thing was, consider approval by motion of the April 10th, 2025 meetings. I need a motion on that.
I'll say.
Okay. Let's see, Michelle. And, can you call the roll on the April 10th meeting minutes, please?
Commissioner Arevalo,
Aye.
Commissioner Burleson, Commissioner Meeks,
Aye.
Commissioner Rourke,
Aye.
Commissioner Tomides.
Aye. Okay,
Mr. Chair, just
yes,
on the single member district, Did you actually take the vote on that?
I did
Just to
not.
make it official.
I apologize. I did
Well,
not.
I just got that.
Yes, if you don't mind.
And I'll second.
Okay, motion by Amy and second by Michelle. So we're just gonna take a roll call on the wording for the recommendation. Is there any discussion before we do that? Hearing none, hold on.
So what
Rob.
was the alternative, John? We determined, no, we really, this is the best. There wasn't any, I mean, I know we had a lot of discussions, but there wasn't any alternative really for us, was there?
It was just to look into it. The recommendation, as I understand it, is that the city council looks into it. We're not saying one way or the other. We're just saying the idea should be explored, right? That's what the
Yes,
recommendation.
because they've already, from the last charter review, they recommended it and nothing ever happened. And so we're just recommending again, but I think that a lot of times that maybe things didn't happen because it's a lengthy process with hiring law firms and could cost upward of like 6 million.
I don't know the cost, but I guess to answer your question, Rob, I don't think we didn't have consensus on putting it on the ballot. That I know for sure from
Okay,
our conversation. We discussed it twice. And in fact, there was one person that supported putting it on the ballot.
which was probably.
One person that said leave it off, and 5 people that said begin a process to educate the public first.
Okay,
So that was our discussion on the 27th.
Is that how the wording is? Or-
Yeah, I mean, it says recommend that the city council study the possibility of transitioning with appropriate levels of community engagement and education.
Okay, but I'm okay with that.
okay, I'm ready to vote.
Okay. Anything else? If hearing none, I'll go ahead and call the roll on the recommendation.
Commissioner Arevalo? Commissioner Burleson?
Aye.
Commissioner Meeks?
Aye.
Commissioner Rourke?
Aye.
Commissioner Tomites?
Aye. Okay, so we had tonight a total of 16 proposed amendments, of which 14 received unanimous support, 2 received not unanimous support. I think that's the best I've ever seen in a charter review commission, honestly. If you look back at the numbers of the votes in the previous charter, it wasn't that. It certainly wasn't that in 2021. We had a number of votes where it was not unanimous. So I'm very thankful for that. And I feel like we did so with, decency and dignity and respect in our disagreement.
To agree to disagree.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any additional work for us to do. If something comes up, we'll let you know. But at this point, from our conversations, we just really haven't identified anything. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, what about Daniel's proposal last time for railroads?
Yeah, what's he
I-
gonna reword and present to us or not?
He did at the last meeting.
Okay,
We had lengthy conversation about the 2 proposed items that he had brought forward. And they did not have, one was lobbying and one was plain language, and which did make it. The
The lobbying.
lobbying did not make it. Just wasn't. It wasn't enough. And the other thing that didn't make it was the hybrid planning and zoning commission timeframes. So, but
Is there anything else he said?
no, there wasn't anything that I recall.
okay.
So that being said, I think here, I guess what I'm saying is I think pretty sure that our work is done. Yeah. And we really worked hard at this. almost every week for the last couple of months. But this is our city's constitution and it matters a lot.
We had good leadership. Thank you for all citizens.
Yeah, thank you, staff.
Yes.
I think it was a good combination of people. I'm
Yeah.
glad I got to know everybody.
I agree. I thank everybody for their commitment. Good.
And do you need us to show up when you present?
And that's certainly up to you. So the plan, that's the last thing I was gonna end up with. Originally,
you.
we had talked about doing this on the sixth. But there is a very high community interest item that's on the sixth that might require a huge delay in getting to this item. I think we all know what it is and.
So get me started.
So we're planning on, no, we're not agendized to talk about it. So I'm planning on doing this on the 20th, the council meeting on the 20th. And unless something changes, that's where we're at now.
So maybe we could show up.
Absolutely, no. Sam will
And
send
that,
out.
that should give time, the election, we call it usually in first week, in August. So, the council still has a couple of months to work through this, whatever else they may have. So you're well within the time frame. So we're.
Did we need signatures on any of this? Like a signature page at all or
Well, not any.
not really
Not
required?
as a legal requirement, but in past years, I know you've had it like a transmittal that was signed, which is an option. You transmit it with some,
Okay.
remarks,
Is
but
that possible?
it's not
to
a
do?
legal requirement to do
Is
so.
that something that can be done electronically or would that
Yes.
have to be done in person?
Oh, it can be done electronically.
Okay. Well, let us work on that to see how that would shake out. But yeah, that's the plan. We're done for now.
And you are gonna send out a reminder, Sam, when this is finalized for when it's gonna be on the agenda for us?
Yes, sir. And we'll make sure that, we post notice that y'all can attend. If you're not that you have to attend, but you can all attend and it'll be fine. We'll
You should.
notice a forum for the commission.
Yeah, it'd be good for everybody to see the give and take between the council and I will just say that again, we are the board that spent the time. I'm not saying that everything that comes out of this board is absolutely what it should be, but in years past, we've been very, very deferential to charter commissions and allowed the recommendations to get to the ballot and let the people decide, because really, council is gatekeepers at this point. And they'll decide whether to let something through. My only discouragement, this is just as a personal, just a matter of personal preference, is when people say, well, no, before there's even a discussion about the merits and the context or even an explanation of how our conversations went, that's frustrating to me because this is a charter mandated process. We're charter mandated appointees. So anyway, it is what it is.
Question.
Sure.
You're gonna present
Yes.
to city council, you're going to present these 15 governments, that's 17.
Yeah.
Do they discuss them that night or you just?
Yes.
hand them over? So that's gonna be a long meeting, or maybe not. You're saying if they just shut down some of them.
Well, I mean, they can discuss them. They generally, once we make the presentation, we're typically out of it. So
Okay.
that's the end of it. But
And technically, if they can discuss and they could say, we want to discuss further at the next meeting, it doesn't mean they have to finalize everything that night.
so I think it would be agendized presentation and discussion.
Yes, sir.
So it won't be a vote, right?
Well, I have to look what you did in 21, if they separated.
I think it was presentation and discussion, and then there was a vote, but I don't quote me.
Choose not to discuss some of them, right?
Right, if they're, it's gonna be their prerogative if they want to continue the discussion to another meeting or do it all that night, right? That's really their
I think we've
prerogative.
done it both ways where I want to say last time, 4 years ago, was a presentation. There was another meeting, which But I also remember a presentation where we actually voted on the items, so to move them forward.
Right, all in the same night, and it's,
So just have to see how they word it.
What's on the agenda?
right, that may be, because it is a crowded agenda. It's one of these, it's just never a great time for some of this stuff a bit, but it seems like of late, all the council agendas have been just packed, so the sixth. There's the issue of y'all would have to wait through the citizen comment, and that could be 2 hours. The other, but on the 20th, might be able to present sooner, because probably a smaller citizen comment group, but there are other action items that could be time consuming. So it's really the council's prerogative if they want to continue discussion or deal with it.
Thank you for
All right, well, seeing nothing else, go ahead and,
Something.
do we have any press or public? There's no questions, or answers to be given. The press or public, so I'll go ahead and call us adjourned at 7:15.